I got a question for you guys out there. What do you think is going to happen election night? In regards to rioting, I'll be more specific. How about that? I think that there are three likely scenarios. I don't know which ones are going to be more violent, and it'll be impossible to fact check this, but we have Trump outright wins, Biden outright wins, or it gets dragged out like Bush Gore in 2000. Now, I think the rioting will be fairly terrible if Trump outright wins. I think that's probably going to be the most violent, most dangerous scenario. And if Biden wins, I don't think it'll be that much of a step down. What I'll see there is no more right-wing people coming out. Maybe they'll just bitch on Twitter. Who knows? Oh, Trump. Oh, Biden stole it at the end of the day. I don't know how much is actually going to come out of that. But this one, I don't quite know. If we don't know on election night, if it gets contested, I don't think, my personal opinion, I think Trump is just absolutely going to fucking kill it this time around. I think the Electoral College is going to be so far out there, but that, of course, is another prediction video for another time. But if we don't know if everything's being held up or everybody's being told to not announce anything the night of, what we're going to see are people mostly on the left, of course, because right-wing people don't come out to rallies that much. That's why it is so surprising to see such a massive turnout for these Trump mega rallies. And all you're going to see is the leftists out there screaming, oh, Trump's trying to steal the election. He's just prolonging the process. He's never going to leave. We're going to have to tear him out. And they're just going to go fucking batshit. And what I wanted to do here is display, because, well, last night was Halloween. Hopefully you had a spooktacular Halloween. Not to be racist or anything, but hopefully you got a lot of good candy and you had a bunch of fun with all your friends, if that's what you're into. Frankly, I could give a shit about Halloween. I know I'm mostly white, and I should love Halloween because I think that's like one white people holiday that they seem to love so much, and I just don't fucking get it. But we'll just go ahead. We're here on Andy Knows Twitter page if you haven't already figured it out. I know it's fairly obvious here, but at least he runs down the gamut of really just despicable acts throughout the entire country on a nightly basis, and he's a man who does great shit on the reg, and he gets nothing but crap for it. And if you guys aren't following Andy, you are missing out on all of the good news. So let's go ahead and just give a rundown. There was shit going on in Portland last night. I know, right? This is so surprising after, 300, 400, 500 nights in a row? It seems like, at least. So Portland Antifa account, because you know what? Twitter is such a great place that they lock down every conservative voice that they possibly can on any sort of nebulous term that breaks the terms of service, right? But an open Antifa website can continue to operate. I'm surprised they aren't verified at this point. Portland Antifa account Defend Portland, who claims to protect and defend Portland, had this to say. Just learned to read, okay? After the night of Antifa rampage that resulted in numerous businesses being vandalized in Portland and Vancouver, Washington. Fuck your windows. Stay mad about it. Don't bother replacing them soon. Yeah, this is just what we're going to end up seeing here for the 59 days of hell. Now, that's in reference to the span of time from election night until inauguration day in 2000, when Florida was so hotly contested, and Al Gore, who, everybody's favorite climate enthusiast is the nicest way I can put it, hotly contested Florida. Now, we all remember the hanging Chad situations, and what's often underreported is the fact that Al Gore liked to throw out a whole bunch of ballots because he thought that they were compromised. This whole mail-in ballot strategy is really a new concept, hey? Once you look deeper into it. I forget which video I referenced everything in, but knowing that most of the absentee ballots that would be coming in through Florida would be military, therefore more Republican leaning, so he had several thousand of them disqualified, leading to, several days, several weeks, not knowing who the new president was going to be. I think Florida ended up getting decided by a few thousand votes, not even like tens of thousands, but like a few thousand votes. So they're already gearing up for just, acting a fool for the next, who fucking knows, because stupid Ted Wheeler, everybody's favorite mayor, somebody who I've detailed extensively on this channel, his commie-loving competitor, Sarah Ironi, who literally wrote a bunch of communists on her ballot: Mao, Pol Pot, Stalin, unironically too. Either you're still going to be stuck with Ted in Portland, who's not going to do anything about this, or Sarah Ironi, who gets voted in, who's actively going to support this type of behavior. So, yeah, leave Portland. Please leave Portland. Flee Portland. Fuck them. And over in New York City, we had fascist fucks. Your lives don't matter, because fascism is just the new term for anybody who you disagree with. And in the absolute most disgusting display of liberal compassion, I hope all your children get raped and killed. Far-left protester screams vitriol at police during violent Antifa protest in Manhattan. Is that not the epitome of tolerance and acceptance? And I see, that one black guy, and the one who's screaming it is that one right there. Here, I'll just let the video play. Yeah, it's only 7 seconds long. Oh, look at her lovely dyed hair. Isn't she just a treat? Just a fat lump of shit with a blood type of ragu. Ugh, I just want to fire donut holes into that with a potato cannon. And of course, more havoc in New York City, because Bill de Blasio, just like Ted Wheeler, is a ineffectual sack of shit. But as you know, Portland was a disaster zone. New York was a disaster zone. And then we got a new place. Not really new if you've been paying attention, but I haven't really covered it or anything. But as you got over here, BLM Antifa protesters from Portland marched through residential area. They're coming for you at your house. Did you ever feel safe at home? Yeah, well, if you live in these radical neighborhoods, you shouldn't anymore. Because in Vancouver, Washington, and shine lights into people's homes. They chant for the motherfuckers to wake up. Just really a bunch of winners out there. But that covers the Northeast with New York, which I don't know, man. I'm the only one out here saying that New York's going to be a close race because of all this shit and, all the backing of the police unions, which is fucking bizarre for a Republican. I don't know. I think unions are corrupt regardless, and that kind of covers all the goofy shit that's happened out there in the Northwest as well, with Seattle or with Washington and Oregon for that matter. But this is where it gets a little bit weird and a little bit sketchy. Businesses across the nation board up windows ahead of potential election day unrest. I don't think we can even say potential at this point. I'm pretty sure everybody thinks that it's certain, and it's not a conspiracy theory anymore, because you guys remember, it wasn't that long ago, the George Floyd protests. I almost threw up in my mouth a little bit saying protests, but the DC Metro Police Chief Peter Newsham said Thursday that there were no credible threats of violence right now. This was on Thursday. I think at a local level, there is nobody intelligent left in DC. I would love to be proven wrong, but Muriel Bowser, the mayor there, was the one who called off special security after the RNC when Rand Paul was assaulted, when a few other GOP people were also assaulted, and Brandon Straka of the Walk Away campaign. Yeah, he was also, I think he was punched, but he was at least ridiculed for being gay by the far left. Let that sink in for a second, because they don't care about anybody. They care about the collective, and that's the difference between conservatives, people on the right and people on the left, because you can't even say that everybody on the right anymore is a conservative. They're more or less just kind of individualists and freedom-loving people. So let's go ahead and dive into this. Businesses and retailers across the country have begun boarding up their storefront windows and taking other security measures in anticipation of it's no potential, shut up, Fox. On or around Election Day, month, weeks, years, who knows, as many cities remain on edge following a summer of widespread riots and mayhem. See, at least they kind of redeem their rhetoric saying potential with actually saying riots and mayhem. In Washington, D.C., hair salons, restaurants, clothing stores, and banks just blocks away from the White House were covered in plywood Sunday as business owners prepare for a possible repeat of the violent riots and looting seen over the summer in response to the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis, the overdose of George Floyd in Minneapolis, as well as the decision not to charge officers in connection to the death of accomplice to drug dealers Breonna Taylor in Louisville, Kentucky. Let's just do a hot scroll down these, because you see, oh good, see, you know what, you put up plywood and then you get beautiful little stencils out there, and make sure you hang your banner up in the window, otherwise they'll come and burn down your house. But that one just means we'll burn those guys down last, by the way. And then you got that racist institution, CVS, where you can go in and buy some thumbtacks to hang up your different political banners that you'd like to have there. And this banner right here just screams, please eat me last. AT&T, we're open and here for you. The fact that they had to go out and get personalized professional banners, like, I don't know, maybe that's just surplus that they have when they're doing renovations, but I don't think it's a coincidence that AT&T and all these major corporations immediately after the death of George Floyd threw up the Black Lives Matter and had their Blackout Tuesday on their social media platforms. I don't think that's a coincidence at all. But here's, police ostrich Peter Newsham said Thursday there were no credible threats right now of violence, but said a number of groups have applied for permits to conduct large demonstrations and entire police departments would be working on election day. Oh my God, like I alluded to earlier, I already know what type of content I'm going to be doing days in advance, but I already know the one for Tuesday is going to be long lines and unrest at the polls by people trying to shake down and intimidate voters. I will guarantee that Antifa, Black Lives Matter, are going to be patrolling the long lines, the predictably long lines on election day, hassling people. And you know what? In some of the open carry states, I don't know if we're going to get any agitation the day of, but the night of? Ooh, buddy, you bet. But I think DC Metro Police Chief Peter Newsham is being a little bit disingenuous when he says that there's no credible threats right now. Because, okay, let's just say Thursday. You were still in October, okay, you know what, things may or may not be escalating, if need be, we got the White House right there, even though the mayor, your boss, by the way, police chief, doesn't want federal interference. So what do you do in response to this? How do you think you're going to respond? Well, how about this? DC police buy $100,000 in tear gas in preparation for possible civil disturbance in the coming months. He was fucking lying. He knew goddamn right there was going to be unrest on election night. He knew that nothing was going to happen in Washington itself. Purchase orders obtained by an American University investigative reporting workshop shows $130,000 spent on tear gas and other munitions. Wow. Let's break this down here. Purchase orders. Oh, by the way, this was mid-October, October 14th, by the way, that they obtained these receipts. Purchase orders show that just about 6 p.m. on June 1st, at the very same hour that federal police were using tear gas canisters and tear gas grenades to clear protesters from Lafayette Square, the DC Metro Police Department was buying the same types of canisters and grenades. MPD admitted to purchasing and receiving them in verbal and written statements to WUSA 9. American University Investigative Reporting Workshop got the purchase orders through a DC Public Records request. WUSA 9 independently matched the dollar figures and the vendor Atlantic Tactical through records with DC's Office of Contracts and Procurement. The paperwork shows MPD purchased OC natural tear gas, scat shells. I bet you they smell terrible. Identical to what WUSA found federal police used on H and 17th Street. The order also contains CS artificial tear gas, scat shells, and speed heat. Both identical to containers that were found at the scene during June's protests. Riots. Violent riots. Never forget. The purchase orders show a total of $130,000 paid to Atlantic Tactical for so-called less lethal munitions and training kits on June 1st and June 5th. The images and sounds captured during federal police clearing of Lafayette Park Square pressed the DC Council to take action. Why, too many sheltered children being told to leave the area after it was ruled being a unlawful assembly. Too many people experiencing pushback for the first time in their life. It's too fucking bad. Let's say, for example, that we have a white supremacist rally that comes in and they turn violent, and we go back in time to when the Klan was actually a significant part of the populace. Violent, and they start attacking people. What tools would we want MPD to be able to use if they were to respond to that? Those are the questions that warrant a hearing. You know what, if they have to talk like that in order to convince the Washington government to hand over the money for munitions, that speaks to a larger problem with the absolute mind virus that the city council is wrought with. Because how many white supremacists are in the country? How many are in the world, really? Are we talking thousands? Are we talking hundreds? Tens of hundreds? It's not as significant as Antifa. Fuck, I showed you the receipts earlier. Portland, New York, Seattle, Vancouver, Washington. I keep wanting to say Seattle, Washington because, well, it's the only place of consequence in Washington. Shit is going to get real in the coming days. I'm surprised it wasn't more widespread last night, but maybe everybody's just getting their shit together and planning properly for Tuesday night. We'll see, guys. I just wanted to give you the heads up because Washington, D.C. is not being straight with you. They have clearly prepped for the evening, and get out there and vote early if you can so you can avoid the lines because they will be significant and the rioting that night will be tragic. I thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you guys to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.